How to answer 8-mark assess question, example 1. So let's have a look. Don't forget we're using sliding scale of significance, okay? So we're going to rate the factors from 1 to 3. So for this question then, don't forget you can be rewarded 4 extra marks for SPAG. So please don't overlook that. Yeah? If there is a question with an extra 4 marks, try to put down something to get that SPAG mark. Okay, so for a named emerging country, assess how far economic growth has had a positive impact on its population. So I'm just going to underline the keywords or command words in this question. Let's have a look. So we've got India as our emerging country. How far has economic growth had a positive impact on its population? Don't forget to stick to its impact on population. So how would we tackle this kind of question? Don't forget, I'm teaching you a bit of content at the same time. So ideas that come to mind: economic growth. Basically, we're talking about more money. We're talking about more jobs, more TNCs, more trading. The impact on the population. So this is just my idea, so I don't lose track of what I'm doing. Has the impact been good or bad? Let's have a look then. So I know that the good impact has been things like increased formal jobs, and this increases taxes and therefore improves or increases services. Okay, so I know that's a good thing. So I can say to the extent that economic growth has been good on the population because it's increased formal jobs, increased taxes, increased services. I know that it's been bad though. I do know that it's been bad because of the increased migration into places like Mumbai, which has created slums. It's also been bad because despite this growth, I know that there's still massive disparities, inequalities, differences in India. So right there, straight away, actually, I've got 3 things which I could rate from 1 to 3. Yep. So I could say the most positive impact has been the increase in formal jobs. However, I could say a lesser positive impact has been the migration, and then a really bad or negative impact has been the disparities. I know there's one that always comes to mind. I could also add in something like there's been a brain drain, which means all the professionals and highly qualified people in India have kind of left the country in order to work in more developed countries. So economic growth, as they've become wealthier, they often then start to leave. But I'm not sure if I'm going to put that in now because I've already got 3 factors. So let's go for it, people. Start writing. The most positive impact on the population has been due to an increase in formal employment. This increases tax revenue, which then provides services, schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, allowing the population's quality of life to increase, as their basic needs are being well fulfilled. This is creating a growing middle class in India, which has grown from 23% in 2005 to 33% in 2018. This, I know from research, this is the kind of statistic which you would need to remember. So in 2005, there was 23% of the population in a middle class, yeah, not extremely wealthy, not extremely poor. Just over a 10-year period, it's increased by 10%. So you could use this as evidence to say, look, economic growth is having a positive impact on the population. So that's kind of my first one done. I've made points, I've given evidence, I've explained it, how it's good or why it's good. So now I want to go to my second point, which would be a negative point, but it's not the most negative point. So I'm going to put something along the lines of a less positive impact. So a less positive impact is due to the migrations, or the migration it should be, of thousands of people from rural areas in search of jobs created by this economic growth. Nevertheless, due to this mass migration, people end up living in slums, where sanitation and working conditions are extremely poor. Likewise, education and healthcare are low, and the average life expectancy should be in the slum is 13 years less than other parts of India. This highlights the fact that benefits of economic growth have not positively impacted the majority of people. There's a few spelling mistakes there. I should put have instead of has, or growth has not positive. It could work. Right. So here I've also stated my point about migration. I've explained it, saying why migration is bad because of the creation of slums, why are slums bad because of the sanitation and working conditions. I've given evidence to talk about life expectancy is 13 years less in these slums than other parts of India. So now it's time for my third factor. My third factor is going to be this disparity, this extremeness in India, where many people are extremely rich and many people are extremely poor. There's a lack of middle class. Even though in the first point we talked about a growth of middle class, overall there's still a huge disparity in India. So this leads me on to my final point and the most negative impact of economic growth in India, which is the distribution of wealth. The powerful elite in this society who essentially run the country have benefited from this economic growth. But the wealth is not distributed evenly. The top 10% of the Indian population holds 77% of the total national wealth, hence why there is a very small middle class. You are either extremely wealthy or extremely poor. So I've given my evidence saying that the top 10% of Indian population holds 77% of the total national wealth. So there's a massive divide. My point was obviously that it's not distributed well, and the evidence for that was saying that 77% of the 10% hold this wealth and therefore power. So economic growth has only benefited a few. So for a conclusion then, with an assess question, you are going to put a conclusion. However, it's not going to be as chunky, as big as your evaluate conclusion. It's just going to be a brief summary of saying why you chose, your factors in that order. So in conclusion, the positive impacts of economic growth has not reached much of the population. This is overwhelmingly due to a poor distribution of wealth, and those who are benefiting from the growth are often those who are in power or the government. Although there are some positives or some positive impacts, like the improvements in services, this should be increased and on a bigger scale. Done. So guys, there is your example of an 8-mark assess question. Okay, make sure you do a quick little plan. Yeah, it's really important. Evidence shows those who do a little quick plan for their 8 markers or 12 markers tend to do better, because you won't lose track of your points. As you've done a little paragraph on one of your points, you can tick that point off and go through it like that, making sure you include everything. Okay guys, I'll do another video for another example of an assess question. Thank you. Bye.